Your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen, for Sirius XM Progress. Here is Mark Thompson with Make It Plain.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are up on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Make It Plain. And Richard Fowler is here in studio with us as well. Happy to hear him. We'll hear more from him even before we go. But first, though, today, what's today? Wednesday? Yeah. So normally on Monday, the Monday after the jobs report comes out, we would have Chad Stone with us. But Chad is with us today, Wednesday. We didn't do a live show on Monday. It was Indigenous Peoples Day. But Chad Stone, Chief Economist, Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, centeronbudget.org, joins us now to talk about the September jobs report. Chad, good morning, man. How are you?
Good morning, Mark. I'm well. How about you?
Just fine. Pleasure to have you. How do we do in September?
Well, September, as you know, we broke our streak of job gains. It was weather related, not economy related, but after 83 straight months of job gains, 83 consecutive months, we lost 33,000 jobs in September. It is hurricane related. Hurricane Irma is the reason. We probably would have had positive job gains if it hadn't been for the hurricane.
So this is absolutely attributable to the hurricane.
The fact that it went negative, yes. Yeah. We also had revisions, downward revisions to the previous 2 months, which were not hurricane related, and best estimates of what things would have looked like if it hadn't been for the hurricane were that there might have been 70,000 jobs in that range. So it still might have looked like this is hypothetical. It still might have looked like a weak month. But it wouldn't have been a negative month without the hurricane.
Yeah. So now we would be expected then this month to rebound, right?
Yes. So because a lot of the job losses were in eating establishments and drinking establishments, places that where people, if you're not at work. If the business is closed, you're not getting paid. On the unemployment side, we got almost opposite results that it's hard to attribute to the hurricane, but are kind of unbelievable. In the opposite sense, the unemployment rate fell to 4.2%. The number of people in the household survey, when you ask people, do you have a job? That rose by 900,000. In other words, and now there's a difference between how we do the calculation on the employer side, where employers said they had 33,000 fewer people on their payrolls. Where if you're not at work, you're counted as not being on the payroll in many of those jobs. Whereas on the household side, if you say you have a job, even if you're not actually there because of the hurricane, you're still counted as employed. And we had an unprecedentedly large number of people who were not at work but counted as employed. So there may be we don't know what will happen next month on the unemployment rate side, but I would expect that it will go up a little bit. So there'll be some balancing out over the next few months. So this is a confusing jobs report. Next month will be confusing too. But the longer term trend, I think, is almost inevitable that we won't get those very high growth rates we enjoyed over most of the recovery in jobs, just because the economy is much closer to full employment. And the unemployment rate will stay in the 4.4, 4.5% range, assuming no disasters or no economic shocks.
Okay. So this, I mean, you've been doing this for years. Many of these later years on air with me, as a matter of fact, but we appreciate that. But I guess you could have forecast as a result of the hurricanes that this might be the kind of jobs report we will get in this month of September. That wasn't a shock to you, was it?
It was not a shock. I think analysts were expecting, didn't know the magnitude, but we were expecting that this, you'd see a serious decline or even job losses due to the hurricane. Yes, that's not a surprise.
So how, with the hurricane having that impact, so it wouldn't be necessarily fair to predict that this very, very next month things will be back to normal with it. Is that unrealistic, or is it going to take a little bit more time?
That's an interesting question. Talk about the effects of hurricanes in general on the economy. So at the time of the hurricane, you'll see these large payroll job losses if the hurricane is as devastating as and this is mostly attributable to Irma, although there's probably some earlier effects. And also Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands are not in these statistics, and that they were later anyway. So in a hurricane, it's kind of ironic, but the hurricane doesn't really have much of a devastating effect on GDP. There's some places that are closed and not, and so those eating establishments and drinking establishments, they're not contributing to GDP. But the major damage from the hurricane is if your house is severely damaged, and that's a real loss to you. But that's wealth. That's not GDP. And in fact, the money that you spend that you weren't planning to spend rebuilding your house in subsequent months is going to add to GDP. So the hurricane destroys a lot of wealth, temporarily costs jobs, but the reconstruction efforts after the hurricane bring jobs back, maybe different ones, temporarily, plus other jobs get back to normal, and the rebuilding contributes to GDP. So we could see an artificial temporary bump to GDP from hurricane reconstruction efforts. But, you wouldn't go out and say, let's go destroy a neighborhood and then rebuild it so we can boost GDP. The effects of the hurricane are devastating to people's lives, but the economic statistics can sometimes behave funny.
I see. Chad Stone with us, Center on Budget. Chad, also, I mean, there are a lot of conversation these days about the White House tax plan and what have you. Have you had a chance to look at some of that data, and have you been able to assess whether or not that will or won't help jobs and keep us in ongoing recovery?
Well, we can say some qualitative things, which is that tax cuts for high-income individuals don't have much of an effect in stimulating the economy compared with tax cuts for everybody else, especially cash-constrained households. And everything we see is that the tax cuts are going to be tilted towards high-income individuals. And there's going to be some stuff going on from corporate tax cuts. And we're having this conversation on the hypothetical that this thing actually is able to get passed in some way. That's not clear itself. So, and plus, we don't have an actual plan. We have an outline. But looking at past Republican plans and past Trump plans, it's a pretty good idea where things are going. So there could be some small boost to the economy, even from rich people spending a little bit more, but the economy is close to full employment, and the tax cuts in the short run might provide a little bit of stimulus. But looking over the longer run, if these tax cuts produce deficits, the economic evidence, and right now they look like they're going to produce big deficits, the economic impact of budget deficits over the longer term is to actually hurt economic growth. Yeah. So there might be some short-run stimulus, but it won't be very much. There will be some long-run damage, but it'll be long-run. So for the tax cut, I think the most important thing to focus on, no matter what the claims are for it, are the distributional impacts. And everything we see says that rich taxpayers are going to get big increases in after-tax income, and the kinds of programs they have in mind for trying to address the deficit issue, guess who they hurt? Cuts to low and moderate income households. Yeah. So it's just not it's just not a program that sound economic analysis suggests is going to be really good for the economy, and it could be harmful in the longer run. And a budget that requires big spending cuts is bad for an awful lot of people.
Yeah, it most certainly is. Chad Stone, folks, Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Check out all of his latest work and analysis at centeronbudget.org. Chad joins us usually immediately the Monday after the jobs report. We didn't do it this Monday. That's why we're doing it on Wednesday. But normally he's with us every month to talk to us about those latest jobs numbers, and that's why he's here today. Chad, as always, appreciate you, buddy. Okay.
Great. Good to talk to you.
Talk to you next month.
Yep.
All right. Take care now. Here in studio with us, as we said, make it plain, as you already know, several people have been through here and have hosted the show. This is the Baby Talk Show host incubator. Now, Richard is not a baby talk show host per se, because he does his own talk show, but he's a baby talk show host of Sirius XM and MIP.
That is true.
You know, and I see guys. How old are you?
30.
See, 30. I was 30. I used to be 30, and we don't like to be called babies.
Oh.
When you get to be my age, you be wishing somebody was still calling you little babies.
No, I'll take baby where I can get it.
I know that.
I like
you
being
appreciate it.
I still like being ID'd when I go to a bar, so
Hey,
I'll take it.
You could be. You young. You a very young man. What's this? Who's this on your shirt today?
Oh, so this is Bayard Rustin. And fitting, when I got in the studio, I found out today was National Coming Out Day, so I think it's appropriate that I wear my Bayard Rustin shirt.
Well, you know, I didn't know they was in National. They have so many days now.
I know.
There was a day like last week called National Friends Day. I'm like, ain't that every day? We got to have we supposed to be good to our friends every day. But this is National Coming Out Day.
I just figured that out about 20 minutes ago, so I'm awful.
You see, you look at you. You late with that.
I know.
Bayard Rustin. Many don't know. I want to hear you tell people why. The importance of Bayard Rustin on National Coming Out Day and what people don't realize.
No, absolutely.
Bayard Rustin.
So folks who don't know Bayard Rustin, I like to call him, I mean, if you thought that like the civil rights movement was just organized by accident, I mean, only a gay guy could keep it so organized. I mean, seriously, like if you thought like all the marches just happened on time just because, when has a black minister ever been on time? I mean, come on, you guys go to church. I mean, it never ends on, but the reason was because you had somebody who really was the person who kept the lights on and kept everything moving in succession. And that was Bayard Rustin. He was sort of the guy. He rarely ever left Washington. He rarely ever left New York. Yeah. He was either New York or Washington. And he was sort of the guy who kept the wheels moving, made sure the checks got paid, made sure the buses for the March on Washington left from where they needed to left from the cities they needed to leave from, got to Washington on time. And so he really was the business mind behind the movement. And at the time during the movement, he wasn't really allowed to be his full self, right? So to bring it full circle, and I was talking about this on air a couple of days ago, is what the NFL and Goodell and Trump are asking these NFL players to do is to leave part of them in the locker room. So we want you to leave your race in the locker room and just bring your talent to the football field. Yeah. Very similar to, you know, as much as we are as iconic as our civil rights leaders are, you know, they sort of asked Bayard to do the same thing. We want you to bring all your talent to the movement, but leave your sexuality, leave that, you know, in behind.
Well, back then it wasn't.
Because back then it was, you know, to be gay was, you know, it's like being a murderer.
Although, especially in the church.
Oh yeah, it was even worse.
but I mean, in the black church, I think "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" came from the black church.
Of course. Because
there were, you know, people were gay in the church, but you just didn't talk about it. And you didn't.
Of course. I mean, and it's still the same. It's still the same today.
Changed much. The thing too about Bayard is that Dr. King was often threatened. They would use Bayard Rustin against Dr. King.
Of course, because they thought if we'll out him and destroy your movement.
That's right. So they would, a lot of times they tried to compromise. It didn't work because Dr. King did what the hell he wanted to do anyway. And he called a lot of bluffs because a lot of people said, we're going to out Bayard Rustin.
He's like,
Dr. King's like, okay, bring it. And then they would never, it never happened.
And there were times where, I mean, the FBI was profiling him and there was, you know, there's times where he got arrested for what at the time was deemed public indecency and so on and so forth. But I think what he's known for now, and there's a whole documentary called Brother on the Outside. I think that's what the name of it is. Don't quote me on it. But they talk about his legacy and what he was able to do for the civil rights movement was he kept the lights on. I mean, when you think about that, the first time they walked across the M. Pettus Bridge, but the second time they walked across, getting all the celebrities there, getting all the names there, getting the resources there, that was Bayard. He was like, all right, give me a minute. Let me get on the phones. Let's get this thing working. And then he called Dr. King's like, all right, I got the people. They're coming down. They're on their way. He's like, all right. And so he's somebody who I look up to in the movement. Unfortunately, he died the year that I was born, so I never got to meet him. But a lot of folks who are my mentors today, one of them being Dr. Loretta Johnson, who's the Secretary-Treasurer of the AFT. I always listen to her because she's got a chance to meet him. I'm like, oh, tell me about him. And she always sits there, and she's probably listening now. And she tells me about, the time she got to meet Bayard Rustin, and I get really excited. I turn into a schoolboy because I'm a total Bayard Rustin fanboy. I think he's amazing and epic as a person. So I'm wearing my Bayard Rustin t-shirt today.
And as he said, this is also National Coming Out Day to Day. I'm not wearing this wig because I'm coming out. Obviously, you all know why.
He's coming out as a Yankees fan too.
Yeah, but you all know I've been wearing it. I said I was going to wear this throughout the playoffs. I am not gay, and that what Larry Craigson would say. No, I'm not coming out, but I am wearing this wig for Aaron Judge. This is my powdered Judge's wig. All rise. Yankees going to win and go to League Championship Series tonight. Decisive Game 5. Richard, as we said, is here. He's kind of shadowing me in the studios more. Next week he's going to be in town. He's going to sit in.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be. And I want you all to support him. We'll confirm that date one day next week, and then we'll let you know in advance so you all can support Richard. You also often see Richard. I think I have been on Fox once in the past 5 years, maybe. Obviously. But you on Fox every day.
I am. I'm actually leaving here to go across the street. Fox is actually across the street from the Sirius.
So what are you gonna?
We are talking about We're talking about Goodell. So we'll be doing we're doing a side segment.
Have you ever witnessed any sexual harassment when you've been over there?
No.
Have you ever been sexually? You can tell us. Have you ever been sexually harassed?
No. Here's the thing. I will say this. I can't. So I will say this very openly. One thing I will give, and I'm a contributor there, and this is one thing I will give Fox News Channel is that there's only one place on cable television where you will find a black gay millennial speaking their true voice and their true views on payroll, and that's at the Fox News Channel.
How did that happen? Why do you think they do that?
Oh, I'll write about it in my book, but no, part of it was because I think one thing that you have to give them is they do believe in being cutting edge. They do believe in bringing on voices that you normally see no place else. And I think the other reason, very honestly, is because there's a blonde woman who has 6-inch heels, who I love dearly, who's no longer at the network. But she was an advocate for me, and she stood up for me, and she says, this guy has talent, and I believe in him, and I think he should be part of the team. Yeah.
Was that Megan?
That was Megyn Kelly.
So Megan was kind of your how do you think her show is doing over?
I think I will support Megan no matter what she does.
Because she supported you, right?
And she's I'm very grateful to her for doing everything she did for me and standing up for me and fighting for me, and I wish her all the best, and I think she's, but I will say, but I think it's very, very important. We talk a lot about having representation,
right?
In news, especially on National Coming Out Day, and even talking about, you bring it full circle, NFL, Harvey Weinstein, all these stories, right? And you talk about the fact that a lot of newsrooms didn't cover the Harvey Weinstein story, even though it was been around for a long time, and journalists wanted to write about it, and people want to write about issues of facing LGBT communities. And you think about, how do we do this? And it's about changing representation in newsrooms, and it's about changing who's the talent on air that could bring these stories to the front. And a lot of times our voices aren't in these newsrooms. And what I will give the Fox News Channel is that they have me in the newsroom, and they take my opinion very seriously, editorially. And when I think of a segment ideal, when Juan is out on the 5, I'm filling in on the 5. And that is powerful, to have somebody who is black, who's gay, who's 30, sitting in the editorial meetings, and also sitting at an anchor desk and saying, this is where I think the show should go. Here's my opinion. And never being editorialized, never saying you can't say. I've never ever once in my 5 years at the network, 2 years as a contributor, being said you can't say that or you can't do this. They've never said that. They've supported every decision that I've made. They've supported every tweet that I've tweeted. If any conservative has ever attacked me on Twitter to the point where they felt that my security would ever be compromised, they'd be like, you let us know what you need to support you, and we'll do it. And so I appreciate them and happy to be there.
And we know several people have had meaningful stints there. Mark Lamont Hill, kind of made his bones there, and then they fell out with him. But then it's good that they respect you and have you, and hopefully they will continue to do so. So what's your take on Goodell and Jamel Hill? And y'all gonna talk about that this morning?
Yeah. So my take is,
what show are you gonna be on? What show is it?
I will be on American Newsroom at 9:40.
9:40. Okay. So
I'll leave here.
You gonna wear that?
No, I'm gonna change.
You gonna what, man? You rock bad over there, man.
That's not my. This is my casual style. It's different presentations.
Oh, we gotta go. I didn't realize we got a time.
Oh yeah, we're out of time.
Well,
catch me next week. I'll be filling in for.
Yeah, he'll be in for me. I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it all out. All rise. Puerto Rico. Watch Richard on America's Newsroom, 9:40. If all minds are cleared, it's been made plain.